Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. In this video I'm going to be covering why player-owned houses or the construction skill basically is dead content. There are a few uses for the player-owned house, however there aren't that many things, and most other things are either ridiculously expensive or a buggy mess. So let's go ahead and check out a fully upgraded or almost fully upgraded player-owned house. So when you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax and enjoy. Before we get into his little crib tour, I just want to say there are a few things a player-owned house is still useful for. The first of which is a combat dummy which you can place in the player-owned house. You have a gilded altar in case you're in hardcore Iron Man and you do not want to be using the chaos altar, which pretty much made the gilded altar obsolete. You have the prawn perks from your aquarium which can help you with fishing. You have a treasure chest you can get a daily elite clue from, and you can make some money making by making house tabs. And you have a costume room, a repair stand for cheaper repairing of your gear, but because of invention, most of your gear should be augmented anyways, but you can still repair your cinderbanes and such for less money and your blood fury. And other than that, the player-owned house does not have any significant things that will help your account out, and that's why it's actual dead content. Because after you train construction and you're done training construction from Runescape, you pretty much never come back to your player-owned house, because there's absolutely no reason to unless you want to repair your gear, or put something in your aquarium, or something of the sort, but that isn't really an incentive to do so. Now that we've covered the uses of a player-owned house, let's go into a little house tour of a house that is pretty much maxed out. Now the player-owned house we're going to be checking out is the player-owned house of a friend of mine called Slippy. He spent over 200 mil almost maxing out his entire player-owned house, starting off with this creature located in his dungeon, which is a Star Wars reference, or pretty much a clone of a Star Wars creature which is graphically outdated, going all the way back to 2006. As you guys can see, it doesn't fit in the player-owned house whatsoever. Upstairs he has his pet Menagerie fully upgraded, and he has your gilded altar and stuff, which is pretty much obsolete now because of the chaos altar, and just your standard things which aren't per se broken. Of course, everything is graphically outdated in the player-owned house because it's just such old content, and Jagex has not done anything with it since. Upstairs he has his little game room with the Hangman game, which is also broken because every time you fail a letter, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Hangman, you should get another piece of the Hangman, so you know, like his leg, the rope, you know, whatever. And the thing is, it doesn't show you any progress towards failing whatsoever. If you keep failing the letters, in this case the word was Ice Giant, at some point you just completely have the game over thing and you're, you know, hanged, instead of it showing it piece by piece. So that's completely broken, and hopefully some of you guys are getting some nostalgic vibes from this. You also have a attack stone which you can actually one-shot nowadays, and you have a elemental balance where you can use your magic spells on for, I don't even know what reason, but you have to match the color it's showing. So if it's green, you use earth spells. And there's some other things which aren't per se interesting, and that's why it's again dead content, because there's no point to do so. You can actually make tea yourself in your own house, which is nice, of course, a nice cup of tea. There's a lot of things in this house that may have been fun back in the day and you may get nostalgic vibes from. But nowadays, there's no incentive to do these things because they don't really give you anything. For example, you can get your butler to give everyone a beer or a drink in your player-owned house, which is kind of cool, and I can see this being used with a player-owned house party, at least back in the day. Not anymore, of course, but, you know, fun little things like that are just, you know, a trip down memory lane for some people. Now, what's actually surprising is that the creatures in this dungeon are extremely expensive to actually get in there nowadays. Slippy told me that he paid 7.5 mil for an iron dragon, and for the steel dragon in the middle, 10 mil. Oh yeah, and these creatures do not give you any experience or drops. It's like a little mini game, I guess, with a chest in the middle. I don't exactly know how it works, but outdated. At least give them a purpose to be this. Like a little player-owned Slayer dungeon, except you don't get anything. It's weird. Honestly, it's a shame. Oh yeah, you also have this fighting ring, which is quite interesting, where you can pick up boxing gloves and actually box each other, which I have seen being used during house parties, and it's kind of cool. It's like a little safe PvP thing. It's fun, I guess, just for the memes. But again, there's no incentive to use this, and the times of fun house parties or whatever in RuneScape are over. And you can see it's bugged with cosmetic sword overrides. And just behold me getting slapped by armor spikes, by the way. It's just dead. My favorite room or area in the player-owned house by far is still the aquarium, because it just looks the best and it's one of the most updated things you can put in your player-owned house. And you can get the saline, the shark pet as well, which is really, really cool. It's a really nice pet if you get all the golden eggs, I believe, with fishing, which can be traded, by the way. Just behold this for a second. You can see the aquarium from the outside. You can even see the dungeon. This entire area is so outdated and glitched and buggy. It's a mess, and if newer players see this, they're going to be questioning themselves if they even get to this area. I mean, let's be fair, they won't be checking out construction because of the fun in it, because the skill is in dire need of a rework, as it's extremely boring, click intensive, and it might end up giving you carpal tunnel syndrome. Also, you have this room with a scrying pool or whatever it is, and you can actually spy around the RuneScape world at different locations. For example, in the video, I can just peep at whoever's at the Grand Exchange. You can even activate free cam in this view to fly around, and it's weird. It's just, what's the point of this? It's funny though, I guess, to creep on people in the G, you know, e-daters and stuff. Cool. With that being said, I think we covered most of the interesting things about Slippy's player-owned house. I know I didn't cover everything because there's a lot of rooms which are basically pointless, so there's no point in covering them, but at this point, you understand why player-owned houses are dead content, at least for the most part, apart from those small little things like repairing your armor or making teleport tabs for a little bit of AFK money. So, how could Jagex reinvent player-owned houses? Well, first of all, they could rework construction as a whole, but they could also add rooms with points, like a better portal room or a skilling room where you can put 20 divine locations in to have a yew tree or whatever that you can chop every day. What would be even better is, for example, a player-owned skilling dungeon. How about that? The ability to add your own ores, trees, or maybe fishing locations after a costly fee or something, so that you can have your personal little skilling area to use. I know it would make the outside RuneScape skilling world a little less populated, but that's just me brainstorming some quick ideas of what you could add to your player-owned house to make it more interesting. But Jagex should, first of all, just rework construction before doing any of that, because it's just a buggy mess, like said before. If you have any ideas of what could be a very cool thing to add to your player-owned house, or for Jagex to add, please leave it down in the comments section below. And with that being said, that's the end of this rather different video. Catch you guys later. Peace.